Okay, I got this all cleared out. I've taken the shelves out of here and I've removed the contact paper that we had on the sides and then down here. I think we're just gonna leave the mirror in place. Oh, hello. Oh, and here's the really dumb thing about that. Somebody in my last video commented wondering how I'm going to attach that cat hammock to that back wall if I have that mirror there. How am I going to attach it to the mirror? And well, the answer is I didn't even think about that. when I was making up those designs in SketchUp, you know, I guess totally, yeah, there's a mirror back there. So I got to figure out a different way of attaching that kitty hammock. But thank you for that comment, because believe it or not, that was the first moment that I thought about that. These are the shelves that were in the cabinet, and I cut out these plywood boards years ago, and then not too long ago, my wife covered them up with this contact paper. So I think I can reuse some of these. It's kind of interesting because these two are 3/4 inch pieces of plywood and this is 1/2 inch plywood. So it must have just been, you know, what I had on hand at the time. But the 1/2 inch one is all bowing from all the weight of those books. I don't really want to use this for the visible pieces because I kind of want the look of unfinished, well, it'll be finished, but unpainted plywood and then the visible edges on it. And this is all painted white underneath. Look at that. The paint is coming off of the previous color of paint. I gotta really ask myself if this is a way that I want to spend my time. This is gonna be a lot more work than I thought. You know what? And I know I've got plenty of plywood here for at least some of the pieces. You know what? I'm gonna set these aside, deal with those later, and I just wanna start building this thing. Look what arrived yesterday. It's the kitty half dome. I don't know what we call this thing. It's like a hemisphere. I hope the cats use that. Well, especially Bubbles. I hope Bubbles uses it because she's got the long fur, and I just wanna see that, the big furry butt of hers all squashed down in there. Hey, I thought it'd be fun to give you a project update. I want to take you up to my patio table that I made 6 years ago, and the finish failed after 2 years. I refinished it, then that finish went ugly after another couple of years. So it was at that point that we decided to paint it. So my wife did this kind of custom paint job on here, which I think is really, really cool. It looks great. And that has lasted better than anything else. You can see the legs are still kind of ugly because we didn't paint those. The most important lesson here is that while outdoor projects can look good with a clear finish on them, that's a finish that you're gonna have to maintain once or even twice a year to keep it looking good. That might even mean completely stripping it down and refinishing it. Ultimately, the best outdoor finish is gonna be paint. I mean, that's why we paint our houses. A good exterior house paint can last you at least a good 5 or 10 years, maybe more. And the table looks okay now, but honestly, we never use it. And so one of the things we're doing, you notice how ugly the deck and everything looks back there, is we're trying to find a landscape designer who can just completely redo our entire backyard and just something brand new. We want to get rid of the deck. We want a patio in there instead, maybe some pavers or something. I want to get rid of what remaining grass we have and do a more natural California landscape that doesn't require a lot of water. Kind of like what we've got going on in the front yard right now. But we were talking about what kind of furniture we'd like to have on a new patio, and one of the things we decided is we don't need a patio table. I'm not really a fan of eating outside. I don't see the advantage to it. You've got to bring all the food back and forth from the inside of the house, and then you've got to contend with bees and mosquitoes and whatever else happens to be flying around. You've got the sunlight. It's just, to me, it's not as pleasant of an experience as it is eating indoors. So we never use that table for eating on at all. So for us, the most practical outdoor furniture is really just gonna be an outdoor, like chairs and maybe a sofa with end tables. End tables make sense, and maybe even a coffee table. And speaking of coffee tables, I may have mentioned this before, I forget. We don't have a coffee table in our living room anymore. We got rid of that and we got some new furniture for the living room, and we even got the coffee table with it, but we decided a coffee table is just in the way. As long as you've got end tables next to your couch or chairs, you're forever having to walk around that thing. It's not really convenient to use if you're sitting watching a movie or something because you have to lean over. And if you have chairs that recline, the coffee table has to be, you know, pushed out of the way anyway. I'm telling you, getting rid of the coffee table in a small house was a game changer. Now our entire living room is completely opened up. We can get up easy, we can play with the cats. Yeah, I can use this wood from the doors that I screwed up on that closet project. Pretty much like most of my boxes, I'm gonna use rabbet joints to hold this box area together. I'll put a sacrificial fence on my rib fence. Every time I use these things, at least one or two people ask me about these blue clamps, and they're really nice. They just, all you do is just make some holes in the edge of a plywood board, and then these clamp right over the rip fence. And the nice thing about them is that you don't have a clamp going this way that could possibly interfere with the wood that you're pushing through. So I got these from Rockler a long time ago. I'm not even sure what they're called, but I'll include a link in my description if you want to look them up. I just need to cut a hole in the side piece and then up on the top. And these are going to be about 6 inches in diameter. I just got a bowl here that I can trace. I'll use my router to round over the edges of those curves. And now I can glue this all together. Hey, you know what I was thinking about doing? Let me know what if you like this idea or not, is a woodworking jam. Now, I got this idea from Wyatt, and he sees that, and there's like video game jams, I guess, where what you do is they give you like a certain time period, say like a weekend, and you have to design a video game or something in that period of time. It's not a contest, and there, you know, there's no prizes or anything, but it's just more like a challenge just to see if you can do this thing in just a few days or whatever. And I was thinking that would be a really cool thing to do with woodworking, is have a woodworking jam. We could call it something else, I don't know. But you know, come up with like a topic, something, and I wouldn't tell you what that is until like Friday. And then you'd have the whole weekend to build something, anything. And then on Monday we can look at some of those projects that you guys made. I don't know, might be fun. Let me know. Leave a comment if you think that's something you'd be up for doing. I have to figure out the logistics of it. I guess you could post the pictures on Instagram. I could get them that way, or you could send them to me somehow. I don't know, we'll figure out the details, but just let me know if you're interested in that. But I think it would be fun is if instead of like, you know, build a table or something specific like that, have it more ambiguous. Like build something that represents frustration, or build something that represents joy, something like that. And so it would be really open-ended, and it would just be interesting to see how everybody interprets that. So since there's not going to be a top, or well, there will be a top on this, but not yet. I want to get this together, but there's not going to be a bottom to it. I got to make sure this is square now while I'm letting it dry. I know I kind of mention this every time, but man, having these kind of strap clamps or band clamps, it's just, it's so handy. I really think it's about the most useful clamp there is. It's especially handy for gluing up boxes. And I don't use it for complete clamping, but to help hold it together while I'm trying to square it up. And it does a great job of that. And as another reminder, this whole show is all about repeating myself, isn't it? I think it's really important. whenever you're clamping together plywood, especially, don't over tighten those clamps because that plywood just bends and bows out really easily. It's easy to get it out of shape. Have you seen any good movies lately? I know there's not a lot coming out right now. A lot of the movies that were going to be released at theaters are just being held back, or sometimes they're just dumping them on streaming. I saw Palm Springs. It was pretty good. That was an Andy Samberg film. It was sort of a comedy. It's sort of a Groundhog Day kind of thing where he and this other woman are kind of reliving this same day over and over again, but they're well aware of it, and it's kind of a different take on that whole kind of subgenre, I guess. It's worth watching though. I enjoyed it a lot. Oh, it's got J.K. Simmons in it too. I think anything with J.K. Simmons in it is pretty good. Okay, it's a lot of clamps on there. Let me let that dry, then I can cut out that top piece. I just let it sit overnight and it's really strong. All I gotta do is cut out the top for it now. There's a 1/4 round molding strip where the mirror touches the top of the cabinet, and so it's gonna prevent this box from going all the way back. So I made this top, let me show it to you this way, so that the top will set back against the mirror and there'll be a little bit of an overhang on the front. So what I want to do now is just figure out where the center of this box is so I can make another hole. I took this up into the cabinet and it fits in there fine like this. And what I've got is this cleat that'll just be attached to the inside of the cabinet, and then I can put screws down in here so the whole thing will be stable. But before I do all of that, I want to finish this with a couple coats of lacquer and make sure that that's good and dry and that the odor is gone before I install this. So hopefully I'll be able to install this tomorrow. Phase 1 of Catification is almost done. I hope they like this. I'll see you guys later.